Hi class, today we're going to be talking about section 4.3b, solving quadratic equations when a is not equal to 0. We're solving these again by factoring. I left that out. What that means when a is not equal to 0 is this term right here. This is a, or our lead coefficient. If it's not 0, then we've got a little extra work to do from when a was 0. Rather than go through this whole example, I'm just going to encourage you that if you get lost along the way, that you go back and look at this, because it's really laid out well to show you how to factor. And we're going to be using a method called factoring by grouping. You probably learned how to factor using the trial and error method, and that's how I learned it years and years ago. Well, once I learned how to do the factor by grouping method, it made factoring so much easier. Not only easier, but less frustrating. So that's how I'm going to teach y'all to factor to solve these quadratic equations. So we'll start with example B. So what we do first, just like we did before, is we label our A, our B, and our C. A is 2, B is negative 19, and C is 24. Again, we multiply A and C, so 2 times 24 gives us 48. And what we want to do is to find, as our first step, find the positive, or I'm going to say negative, negative factors of 48 whose sum is negative 19. The reason I said the negative factors is because the two numbers have to add to negative 19. And a negative times a negative will give us a positive. So what I have done is I've listed out the numbers that possibly could work, and we're looking for our factors of 48. So we would have negative 1 and negative 48. Think again that you're multiplying, so that would give you 48. Negative 2 and negative 24. Negative 3 and negative 16. You could keep going to get the factors, but that will get us, that'll give you an idea of how you go about finding the factors. Then we take the sum of the factors. So negative 1 and negative 48 equals negative 49. Negative 2 and negative 24 equals negative 26. Negative 3 and negative 16 equals negative 19. And there's the key. That's what we want to use. So once you find your two numbers that work, that give you the product of AC and the sum of B, then you take and you rewrite this quadratic equation. You take out the negative 19 and you replace it with the negative 3 and the negative 16. And it doesn't matter which one you put first. I'll just put the 3 and the 16. So if we were to simplify this, this would simplify to negative 19 right here. Then what you do is you take and group the pairs. So I'm going to group 2x squared minus 3x in one parenthesis, and then I'm going to group the rest of it, negative 16x plus 24 in the second parenthesis. Now we find the greatest common factors in the groups. So the greatest common factor between 2x squared and negative 3x is x. The greatest common factor between negative 16x and 24 is going to be negative 8. And the reason it's going to be negative is I always want you to pull out this sign, whatever it is, with the factor. Now we're going to factor out or divide by the greatest common factors. So we're dividing out the first parenthesis by an x. 2x squared divided by x is 2x. Negative 3x divided by x is negative 3. Then we're going to factor out this sign, notice it right here, and we're going to factor out an 8. Negative 16x divided by negative 8 is positive 2x, and 24 divided by negative 8 is negative 3. Now I want you to note that you're multiplying x by 2x minus 3 and negative 8 by 2x minus 3. So the greatest common factor here, or what we're multiplying by in common, is 2x minus 3. So the next step is to divide out the greatest common factor. So we'll put a 2x minus 3 out front. And when we divide x times 2x minus 3 by 2x minus 3, we're left with just the x. And when we divide negative 8 times 2x minus 3, we're left with negative 8. And so the factored form is actually this. It is 2x minus 3 times x minus 8. Now, what we're going to do when we do the guided practice is actually solve for the factored form. So we would set both parts equal to 0 and solve for x. And I should have done that, well, I should have done that right here. So let me show you. You take 2x minus 3, set it equal to 0, and x minus 8, set it equal to 0, add 3, 2x equals 3, I'm going to run out of room, divide by 2, so x is 3 halves. Second one, add 8, x is 8. Those are our two answers. If you can notice the pattern, the answer is taken by taking the opposite sign here and dividing by this term. So there's 3 halves. Opposite sign here, there's 8. That might save you a little work if you can get to that point where you're seeing that. Okay, example C. All right, this time our product, or our AC, is going to be less than 0. Last time it was greater than 0. So this just means we're going to have one positive and one negative factor, because when you multiply and your product is negative, you have a positive and a negative factor. So we'll label our A as 2, our B is 7, our C is negative 9. We'll multiply 2 times negative 9, which is negative 18. We're going to find one positive, and I'm just going to put a plus, and one negative number whose product is negative 18 and whose sum is 7. So we want the factors of negative 18. Remember, one is positive and one is negative. So a couple of examples, 1 and negative 18, negative 1 and 18, 2 and negative 9, and negative 2 and positive 9. Find their sums. 1 and negative 18 adds to negative 17. Negative 1 plus 18 is 17. 2 plus negative 9 is negative 7. And negative 2 plus 9 is 7. There's the numbers we want. So our second step would be to rewrite the term Vx, which was 7, using the factors we just found. So notice we have a minus here, so let's stick the 2 first. And then we have a plus, so let's stick the 9 second. We're going to group and find the greatest common factors. So we're going to fill in a 2 and a 9. The greatest common factor between 2x squared and 2x is 2x. The greatest common factor between 9x and negative 9 is 9. We're going to factor out or divide out the greatest common factors. So when we pull a 2x out, we're taking 2x squared divided by 2x, which is x, and negative 2x divided by 2x, which is minus 1. Then we're going to put our 9x out front, or not our 9, just our 9, I'm sorry. Because 9 is the greatest common factor of 9x and minus 9. So 9x divided by 9 is x. Negative 9 divided by 9 is negative 1. Notice you're going to always see the same thing right here, which is our greatest common factor, and it also is an indicator that what we've done has been to factor this correctly. So x minus 1 is our greatest common factor. When we factor it out or divide it out, think of right here, all that would be left would be the 2x. And all that would be right here would be the plus 9. So that is our factored form of 2x squared plus 7x minus 9 would be x minus 1 times 2x plus 9. We'll solve for x. X minus 1 equals 0. Add 1 to both sides. X equals 1. 2x plus 9 equals 0. Subtract 9 from both sides. 2x equals negative 9. Divide by 2. X equals negative 9 halves, and x equals 1. Okay, there's example C. And example D. We're going to, again, always start with finding our A, B, C, and our AC. So our A is 4, our B is negative 4, our C is negative 15. A times C is negative 60. So we want one positive and one negative number whose product is negative 60 and whose sum is B, which is negative 4. So again, you can fill in numbers, negative 1 and 60. Let's just go ahead and add those while we're at it. That would be 59. Again, we're looking for negative 4. 1 and negative 60 would be negative 59. Negative 2 and 30 would be 28. 2 and negative 30 is negative 28. Negative 3 and 20, which is 17. 3 and negative 20 is negative 17. You can see sometimes it takes you a while to find these. Again, we're looking for the factors of negative 60. Negative 4 and 15, which is 11. 4 and negative 15, which is negative 11. Negative 5 and 12, which is 7. 5 and negative 12 is negative 7. Negative 6 and 10 is 4. 6 and negative 10 is negative 4. Obviously, the better you are at multiplication, the easier it's going to be to find the correct factors. Okay? So you don't have to go through all of this trouble. If you can find them sooner without having to go through and list them all like this, then that's fine. But this gives you a little extra help if you're not really good at your multiplication, of how you go about making one positive and one negative and then adding. And then your key is to find the ones that multiply to negative 60 and add to negative 4. So we're going to use a positive 6, a negative 10. We're going to group the first two, the 4x squared plus 6x. We're going to group the negative 10x and the minus 15. The greatest common factor, which would be the largest number that goes into both, or the largest term that goes into both 4x squared and 6x, is a 2x. Always factor out this sign. The largest term that goes into negative 10x and negative 15 is negative 5. So here we divide by the greatest common factor. 4x squared divided by 2x would be, 4 divided by 2 would be 2. X squared divided by x would be x. 6x divided by 2x, 6 divided by 2 would be a positive 3, and the x's will cancel. Then we pull out our negative 5. Negative 10x divided by negative 5, notice again, is 2x. Negative 15 divided by negative 5 is positive 3. Here you go, you can see your greatest common factor is 2x plus 3. So when we pull out the greatest common factor, what we're going to have left, and I'm just going to skip this step right here, and just show you what you could do if you wanted to, is you could write it out like this. 2x times 2x plus 3 minus 5 times 2x plus 3. Then you're dividing out the greatest common factor of 2x plus 3. So you can see when we factor it out, the 2x plus 3, that what we're left with is 2x minus 5. And then why don't we say that when we're solving for x this time, that what we do is just remember that it's the opposite of this sign over this term, so that would be, negative 3 over 2. Opposite of negative 5 would be 5 over 2. And those are our solutions to this quadratic equation. Now, you may be still feeling a little confused. Know that this is something we're going to practice for several days. It's so important, and it does take a little time for it to sink in. So don't be discouraged. go back and look at example A, rewatch the video if you need to, and you can always email me if you need help. I hope y'all have a great day, and I'll see you next time.